Testimony in the Derek Chauvin trial is over. Both sides have rested their cases. Closing arguments are scheduled for Monday. Esme Murphy is here to tell us about the drama in the final day of testimony. Esme.
Well, that's right. Court was only in session for a couple of hours, Shayla, but it certainly was dramatic. We heard from Derek Chauvin himself, and we also heard threats of a mistrial from both the defense and the judge because of newly revealed carbon monoxide testing on George Floyd's blood. Now, let's start with Derek Chauvin. This morning, the very first thing in a series of questions, both from his attorney and the judge, Derek Chauvin said he was invoking his Fifth Amendment privilege not to testify and that this was his decision.
Is this your decision not to testify?
It is, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any questions about your right to remain silent or to testify? Or threatened you in any way to keep you from testifying?
No promises or threats, Your Honor.
Do you feel that your decision not to testify is a voluntary one on your behalf?
Yes, it is.
What was remarkable about this is it was very clear that Chauvin and his attorney had been talking about the possibility of him testifying through last night. There were no other defense witnesses they had to call. Now, to the other stunning development this morning. Yesterday, the prosecution expert testified that in his view, carbon monoxide poisoning had contributed to the death of George Floyd. We never heard about this testimony before, and the expert, Dr. David Fowler, said as far as he could tell, there had been no testing by the medical examiner on this. Well, it turns out, we learned this morning, that there had been testing of carbon monoxide levels when George Floyd died, but that just got buried in the autopsy report. The judge barred that testimony from coming in and said if it was even mentioned in front of the jury this morning, there would be a mistrial. Now, Dr. Martin Tobin, the pulmonary expert, who is really one of the star witnesses for the prosecution, was allowed to come in and testify as a rebuttal witness, and he was allowed to testify that George Floyd's oxygen saturation levels were at 98%, meaning that his carbon monoxide levels could only be at 2%, and those would be normal. So he was able to testify about it without getting into those tests that would have created a mistrial. We are just hearing that they actually might come back at 2 o'clock this afternoon on the record, presumably to talk about jury instructions. We're not sure yet. Otherwise, we will next see these parties in court on Monday morning for closing arguments.
We'll keep an eye on all those developments. Thank you so much, Esme Murphy, reporting. Count on the WCCO team to be your trusted source for the Derek Chauvin trial. We're streaming the entire trial live on CBSN Minnesota.